Good morning. Welcome to the White Bear Unitarian Universalist Church, a community of folks bound not by creed but by covenant, living into the values of courage, reverence, and compassion. I am Owen Dom. I use he/him pronouns, and I am a member of our board of directors. If you have a request for today's meditation, please place it in the bowl or in the chat box before the opening hymn. A special welcome to those joining us for the first time. We are glad that you're here. Please fill out a guest card to let us know more about you by finding the link in the Zoom chat box or by finding a yellow card at the Welcome Center. As we prepare to reopen our nursery for the first time since March of 2020, we are excited to welcome back Jenna Weber as our nursery coordinator. Jenna started as our nursery coordinator back in 2019, and we are delighted that she said yes to rejoining our staff team. Jenna, can you please stand up? Over the next couple of weeks, Jenna will be working with our RE staff to prepare our nursery to welcome back children ages 6 months to 3 years during worship on Sunday mornings. We anticipate that our nursery will reopen on July 10th. Registration for nursery can be found in the e-news and on our website, or you can stop by the nursery on Sundays to sign up. Welcome back, Jenna, and we are happy to have you with us. A few other quick notes. Those of you who are here in person have the opportunity to meet the artist of the new art display in the atrium. Artist David Amdur will be here after the social hour. Moose Jaw will be coordinating the UU presence at the Twin Cities Pride celebration. Check the e-news for a link to volunteer. Our service on June 3rd, 2 weeks from today, will be pre-recorded and available on our YouTube channel. There will be no in-person or virtual worship. Cyber Hour will still meet at 11 a.m. For the duration of the summer, there will be a twist on our in-person social hour. Reverend Jack will briefly explain.
You might notice that the social hall looks a little different today, and that's because our summer program for children and youth will be happening there during the 10 a.m. services all summer. After the service, we ask that you wait until the doors have opened to enter into that sacred space. Then, during our social hour, folks will have multiple options. For the usual small group conversations, please head to the Wheatley room or the courtyard room over by the kitchen, or even outside to find a small group for conversation. Alternately, people of all ages are invited to stop by the 4 different centers around the social hall. That way you can see what the youth have been up to. Feel free to engage the prompts at any of the centers, create, imagine, and play.
Welcome to our church. Together we grow our souls and serve the world in love.
Come in. Come into this place which we make holy by our presence. Come in with all your vulnerabilities and strengths, fears and anxieties, loves and hopes. For here you need not hide, nor pretend, nor be anything other than who you are and who you are called to be. Come into this place where we can touch and be touched, heal and be healed, forgive and be forgiven. Come into this place where the ordinary is sanctified, the human is celebrated, the compassionate is expected. Come into this place. Together we make it a holy place.
Sextus Julius Frontinus, a revered engineer in ancient Rome, once said, "Inventions have long since reached their limit, and I see no hope for future developments." He couldn't even imagine anything new ever being invented again. What would he think about our world today with our cars, computers, satellites, and Wi-Fi? These modern innovations came from the creative minds of ordinary individuals. We have genetically engineered bacteria to eat and break down plastics, and wind and solar power advancements are making us less dependent on fossil fuels. mRNA vaccine technology has not only provided us with a COVID-19 vaccine, but has also created a promising vaccine for pancreatic cancer. Our limitless creativity and ingenuity are solving problems and creating solutions every day. Today we light the chalice for creativity and ingenuity, which gives us hope for the future.
My name is Reverend Roger, and my pronouns are he, him, his. I invite you to join in the unison opening words. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth and love, and to help one another. Our opening hymn this morning is Mother Spirit, Father Spirit, and it's in the larger gray hymnal, hymn number 8. And this is, the words of this were written by Norbert Chapek, who we celebrated a few weeks ago, the creator of the Flower Communion service. And it's an important hymn in the UU hymn canon. So I invite those in this space and at home to rise in body or in spirit and join in singing hymn number 8.
Good morning. My name is Amy, and my pronouns are she, her. And this morning, I have a story called Pulling Up Sprouts to Help Them Grow, and it's a retelling from an anthology called Harmony, A Treasury of Chinese Wisdom for Children and Parents by Sarah Conover and Chen Wei. Long ago, in the kingdom of song, there lived a hardworking but impatient farmer. Tending his wheat fields from sunrise to sunset, he labored through storms and blistering sun, hoping to provide food for his family. Yet though he watered each seed, weeded each row, and frightened the hungry birds away, he grew frustrated with the slow progress of his crops. There must be something I'm not doing right, he fretted to himself. Some secret that will help them grow more quickly. One sunny day, walking beside a row of tender seedlings to check on them, he discovered that one had fallen over into the irrigation ditch. He gently lifted up the sprout and replanted it at the top of the row, covering the dangling roots with a few clods of dirt. He stood up, put his hands on his hips, and surveyed the row. Much to his delight, the replanted sprout now stretched high above the other seedlings to the exact height he hoped they'd all be at this point. "I've got an idea," he exclaimed. "Why don't I pull all the sprouts and replant them?" Hastening to the next plant, and then the next, and the next, and the next, he worked his way up and down each row, tearing the seedlings from their hold in the soil, planting them at the top of each row, and mounding the dirt around them. He smiled and hummed as he worked, happy that his crops would be taller than all of his neighbors. Finally, under the starlight, well past dinner time, the farmer headed back to the village after replanting his last seedling. Exhausted but satisfied, he smiled broadly as he greeted his family. He took off his farming hat and announced, "I am a happy man. I have figured out all of the secrets of making crops grow faster. We now have the tallest plants in all the kingdom." His family gazed at him proudly. "Tomorrow," he said to his eldest son, "you must put aside your studies and come to the fields to see our good fortune." "Of course, Father," replied the son. "I greatly look forward to it." And without even eating dinner, the happy but tired farmer went straight to bed. The sun arced high in the sky by the time the exhausted farmer awoke the next day. The farmer's son, however, had dutifully walked to the fields to see the results of his father's work. There, much to his horror, row after row of brown, withered seedlings lay crumpled in the heat, their roots dried out by the sun. And that's our story this morning. I invite you to sing with me, Rise in Body or Spirit, for hymn number 1057. We're going to sing Go Lifted Up for our children and youth who are registered for our summer program this morning. Our children can follow our youth counselors right to the social hall.
Each week, the meditation in our service gives us a unique moment to pause and to check in with our interior selves in the company of others. It is both a private and a public experience. Today, we join in this experience with, before the kids left, there were 75 people in this room, plus 77 households joining us from near and far. So I invite you now to center your bodies. Be aware of your body and center for a moment on your breathing as you breathe in and out. And then shift your attention to your interior, to your soul, if that's a word that has meaning for you. What are you feeling and experiencing on the inside? Notice whatever it is, pay attention. You don't need to do anything about it, but be aware of it. And take a moment now to be mindful of all those near and far who are struggling with mental illness and physical illness, addiction, grief, frayed family relationships, poverty, war, oppression, and other challenges. We lovingly hold all those who are struggling, including perhaps ourselves, if we are struggling today. And let's take a moment in the spirit of Juneteenth to celebrate enslaved Black Americans who courageously fought to end the sin of slavery. We celebrate Black Americans and others who, with not only goodwill but also good actions, have continued the struggle after emancipation to end all of the vestiges of enslavement and new forms of that same old oppression. May all of us join in that struggle and stay in that struggle and celebrate the victories along the way. Within our church community, we hold in our hearts this morning Sarah and Bill Trouts and their family. And we also join Ann and David Heath in welcoming their new and first granddaughter, Cleo Eve, in New York City. She is lovely, David notes. Congratulations. And out of the silence in this shared in-person and virtual space, I invite you to name aloud people you are holding in your heart today. Amen.
The offering today stays right here at WBUUC and helps us to meet our two prolonged mission to grow our souls and serve the world in love. In addition to passing the plate, there are 3 additional ways to give: on the website, by sending in a check, or by using the text to give feature on the screen. However you contribute, thank you for your generosity and your faith in this life we lead together.
The first reading today is a sonnet by Padraig Otwama called Lifeline. Here's what I know. When the bell tolls again, I need to go and make something, anything. A poem, a pie, a terrible scarf with my terrible knitting. I need to write a letter, remind myself of any little lifeline around me. When death sounds, I forget most of what I learned before. I go below. I compare my echoes with other people's happiness. I carve that hole in my own chest again, pull out all my organs once again, wonder if they'll ever work again, stuff them back in, begin again. And then a second reading is a poem by the Reverend Karen Herring, A Primer in Pausing. He learned it listening, watching his newborn sleeping. Her pause between breaths causing his concern, testing his assumption that another breath would follow. Spiritual teachers call it the gap, a space between this and that, a second split and stretched, making room for options. This is how patterns break open, how choice happens. Slow down. Make room. Remember this rhythm carried within, an expectant pause between inhale and exhale. Fertile waiting, bearing an emergence wanted, needed, not yet revealed.
Here we are on Father's Day, a day to celebrate fathers and parents, parenting, creating and co-creating. Much like Mother's Day, it is a complicated holiday, right? Not everyone has a father or knows their father. Some have two fathers. Many people have complicated relationships with their fathers or with their kids. I'm imagining that's how it has been for quite some time, and probably how it will be for a while. I recently started to read a dystopian young adult novel where a visual artist creates a beautiful but terrifying painting of a monster with metal-laced feathers, human hands, and a face with a mouth but no eyes. Overnight, the monster comes to life, and the painter is horrified, scared, impressed, and proud, all at the same time. It really got me thinking, is that how my dad feels? He helped to co-create this thing that used to be an adorable little boy. You can see the image right there. Yep, I know. And I'm sure that for at least quite a few years, he was holding his breath about what I was going to become. Which path would I follow? I did end up loving tennis, so the tennis ball in my hands there must have helped a little bit. And now I've grown into something completely different. Arguably not a monster, but I can imagine my life is different than the one my parents envisioned for me. What do you do when your creation comes to life and has a mind of its own? I'm not a parent, but I do know quite a few parents, including my own. I imagine the prospect of creating a family can be scary, but so can the choice not to create a family. It takes a village, and our villages are getting smaller and more divided. I understand that creating and creativity are great antidotes to all the pain and suffering and death around us. People are dying and being born every day. People are also creating and destroying every day. How do we find a form of creativity that provides nurture and sustenance? In his poem, Lifeline, Padraig Otwama highlights this impulse to create in the wake of a death. Here is what I know, he says. When that bell tolls again, I need to go and make something, anything. A poem, a pie, a terrible scarf with my terrible knitting. I need to write a letter, remind myself of any little lifeline around me. You see, in the midst of chaos, order. In the midst of sorrow and sadness, a joyful, bright spot, terrible though his knitting is. And like much creating, it takes time and patience and self-patience. Creation often requires gestation, germination, the slow but steady progress of time, a caterpillar in her cocoon, a chick getting strong enough to break through his shell. How do we find patience in the waiting? How do we pause with a sense of trust while we are anticipating that which is not yet? Otwama goes on to say, when death sounds, I forget most of what I learnt before. I go below. I compare my echoes with other people's happiness. I carve that hole in my own chest again, pull out all my organs once again, wonder if they'll ever work again, stuff them back again, begin again. One surefire way to lose track of our sense of trust is to compare our echoes, our shadows, with other people's happiness. This is an incredible distillation of one primary danger of our social media-drenched world. When we're feeling down and out, we might end up spending even more time scrolling through the highlights of other people's lives. That is a recipe for disaster. I have a colleague in ministry, Karen Herring, who is wrapping up her time serving at our parent church in St. Paul, Unity Church Unitarian. She just released her second book, and it is provocatively titled, Trusting Change. Sounds easy, right? She's broken the book into 3 sections: the no longer, the pause, and the not yet. This framing is so helpful as we think about creating and imagining into existence that which is not yet. When have you done that for yourself? Imagine something from the land of not yet into existence. For me, it was attending seminary. Up to that point, I had primarily worked in the hospitality industry, and I was ready for a next step. As much as I liked the bustle of a busy restaurant, the fast money, and the extensive travel my jobs afforded me, I longed for something deeper and more meaningful. I wanted a career that could fulfill my desires for purpose and meaning-making. When I first started telling my coworkers that I was about to go to seminary, you should have seen their faces. It was a mix of surprise, confusion, betrayal. If you ever want to know about someone's deep-seated fear and distrust of religion, just tell them you're going to seminary. Some people swore less around me or caught themselves afterward and apologized, neither of which were necessary. After a while, I finally learned to say, I don't give a damn if you swear, just stop being racist or transphobic around me. Some people ended up treating me like a confessional booth until I learned to say, please stop confessing to me, I don't even believe in hell. And during my first year of seminary, before I was even ready for it, I was able to calmly answer the question that was always spoken rudely to me, seminary? What, are you religious now? My answer became, well, not when you have that look on your face. I'm clearly defining religion differently than your face does. For me, religion is a way of making meaning together in community. So yes, in that sense, I guess you can call me religious, but please don't have that look on your face when you do it. But more than the reactions coming at me from others, I was also surprising myself. I'd always dreamed of being a minister, but didn't imagine a minister could be gay. Or, put another word, since I was gay, I didn't think I could be a minister. I hadn't met many other gay ministers. I had started to meet some, and that actually contributed to my desire to imagine something into existence for myself that was not yet. In fact, most of my 4 years of seminary were a practice in imagination, creativity, and experimentation. I was told many times that seminary could often be a transformative time. I was told to trust the changes that were underway. I'm sure there were times where I would have wished for a shortcut, like a farmer in the story that Amy shared with us. Just pulling up on the sprouts so they'd be taller, and not having to wait for the photosynthesis and the right soil conditions, the rain after a long drought. But there was no shortcut, only the long cut. Sometimes creating or growing into something new just takes time. Today is the national holiday of Juneteenth, a day set aside to commemorate the emancipation of enslaved black people from what had been their legal but inhumane treatment. And as we who know the history know, June 19th, 1865 is 2.5 years after the actual emancipation, right? Patience. Imagine how many generations of ancestors had been building toward this reality. Think about all the forces that were at play, working to imagine into existence that which was not yet. Freedom, autonomy, respect for inherent dignity. I have a bit of a confession to make. I used to believe that Juneteenth was a black holiday for black people to celebrate, and there was no room for others. What? Are you kidding me? Why did I believe that? Every single person alive should be celebrating this day. American slavery and colonialism more broadly are some of our most vile collective sins. The effects of them are still felt today, and it should be every person's responsibility and joy to celebrate its official legal end and to work toward repairing the damage done. I can't believe it took until 2021 to become a federal holiday, and I'm so curious as to what this holiday will become. What a chance to learn and to grow. What might we create together as we continue to listen to the experiences of Black Americans who were and are the most affected by slavery and its aftermath? What can white people learn about whiteness and about the ways our society prioritizes and overvalues whiteness? How will we lean in to this moment of change and see it as a chance to grow? I think about this congregation and the way we are imagining a new way into existence. 3 examples come to mind. First, our ministry of food here used to be central to our identity. I'm not sure what will come next, but so far we've had 2 potlucks, and they've both been incredibly successful. The first one brought together 70 people, 30 different families with at least 15 kids. Such a treat. For our second potluck, only about 6 people signed up to help or bring a meal. I wasn't sure what was going to happen. But then 30 people showed up. Sometimes we build the structure and advertise an event, and then we pause, we breathe, and between the inhale and the exhale, the not yet takes shape. The second example is the search committee for our next settled lead minister. The board polled the congregation, compiled the ideas and the suggestions, and then appointed a slate of 7 strong nominees who are about to take a big leap of faith on our behalf. They are building toward a not yet that will shape the substance of who we are and who we are becoming. For the next 10 months, they'll be living into what Karen Herring calls a stretched out pause, living in the liminal space as our next step begins to merge. We are in the pause right now, trusting that the ground will appear before we take our next step. She says, spiritual teachers call it the gap, a space between this and that, a second split and stretched, making room for options. This is how patterns break open, how choice happens. Slow down. Make room. Remember this rhythm carried within, an expectant pause between inhale and exhale. The third example of living into the not yet is the way that we are welcoming visitors, newcomers, and new members. We have welcome teams, people dedicated to paying forward the welcome that was offered to them when they first came, whether it was a year ago or 40. This summer, I'll be forming next year's welcome teams. I hope you consider joining one. If we as an institution were never building toward the not yet, we would be a dying institution. We are called to remain open to the people whose paths are becoming intertwined with ours. Some of our community's future leaders just became members a few weeks ago. And when we remember this reality, we bring an openness and a trust with us into every interaction here. We walk confidently into social hour after the service, knowing that every week we are becoming more whole, more connected, and more aware of who we mean when we say we. Throughout the pandemic, we heard from so many of you how much you missed the sounds and the energy of having kids and youth in our services. That was heartening to me, and I felt the same way. This summer, we have such an amazing opportunity to have a multi-generational social hour after the service. Some weeks you might be drawn to a quieter conversation, but some weeks I hope you also make time for new experiences. And if so, please join us in the social hall for a not yet that is still being built. Try your hand at some art across the table from a young person, or storytelling. Build something for your home altar, or just sit in the presence of some of our kids and youth as they create and imagine. May it be so, and make it so. Amen. Our closing hymn is May Your Life Be as a Song. It is in the teal soft-covered hymnal, number 1059. We'll sing it in a round 3 times through. Please rise in body or spirit.
So the folks who've organized this think it's time for us to start singing rounds again together. I don't want to stress this too much, so we'll keep it simple. Let's make this section, that section, and that section. So to the left, you guys are group 1. And this section to my far left, who go by the name The Ringers, will be group 2. And each group will sing the song 3 times. The first time we'll all sing it together. The second time, group 1, you continue, and I'll be continuing, and you're going to sing it twice more. And Margot will bring in group 2. When they come in, they'll sing it twice more. So group 1, we'll end up listening to their lovely voices. Do we have a D? 1, 2, 3. May your life
Our benediction comes from the end of Karen Herring's poem. Fertile waiting, bearing an emergence wanted, needed, not yet revealed. Go in peace.
My wish for you as now we part is a greater peace to fill your heart with dreams as vast as starry space. So hurt and anger know no place. May truth be shared and wounds be healed, and joy for living be revealed. Through every fate and circumstance, may hope lead weary steps to dance, and may your life be as a song, resounding with the dawn, to sing awake the light, and softly serenade the stars, ever dancing circles in the night. May fears be turned with keen insight to wisdom for what's just and right. Where sorrows grow, compassion strong, and pains will pass before too long. May the bounds of our diversity serve a richer harmony. May courage hold your heart so true to smile on love when it smiles on you. And may your life be as a song, resounding with the dawn, to sing awake the light, and softly serenade the stars, ever dancing circles in the night, ever dancing circles in the night, ever dancing circles in